Yes, you know, the problem with matters relating to human beings, their livelihood and the safety of it thereof, is always that any information that appears to be adverse is more likely to be consumed much faster than any that is actually positive. And if the nefarious information precedes the more positive one, then instead of just introducing what you may consider to be the correct information, you are fighting what already exists. Now, unfortunately, GMO received bad press from the time in the early 70s, early and some late 60s, when we got yellow maize from the US. We had a drought situation. I know because I ate some of that yellow maize. Quite tasty though. It was only later that we were to be informed that that maize is actually produced for feeding cows. I had a bit of a problem with that. But you see, it's misplaced, because as far as we're concerned, maize flour was meant to be white. So when it is yellow, it opens the door for every conspiracy theory known to mankind. Now, among the things that were said then was that this particular maize with the GMO was intended to sterilize people. I have 2 children, so
that didn't work. Okay.
And now, how beyond the scientific explanations does one get to communicate what you know and the rest of us probably don't know about the safety and the benefits of GMO?
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, the first thing is that the GMO, as a general term, there are so many types. And there is one that is meant for America and other countries where we have thousands of hectares. That is the Roundup tolerant maize. Because weeding manually is impossible in thousands of hectares. They use a plane to spray through. Now, in Kenya, we have smallholders. Our biggest problem is mainly, for example, the crop pests and other agronomic problems rather than the weed. We can weed manually. So that's why we have BT maize here. And this has been made in Kenya, not in America. Now, those theories have developed over time. And you are very right, Mr. Moga, that this thing received very bad press and very bad activism earlier on. And because this was the first information people had, it's very difficult, and we are getting it very difficult to turn around the thinking around it. We are trying our best, but we are getting it because people already have it. And as you said, when something concerns human life and safety, the bad news travels faster, and the bad news become more believable, and serious caution is taken. And I say, even though I'm told if I go through the river, I might be fine, and somebody who doesn't look credible is saying it's very dangerous, I would rather follow the person who is not even credible, but I remain safe. So this is the problem, that somebody can come and say a simple nonsense. And this nonsense, I'm not talking about people who have safety fears. I'm talking about deliberate nonsense. But because it concerns safety, that nonsense flies more. Now, he's given evidence that he has 2 children. I hope only 2 by choice. Even though he has been he took GM maize.
Yes,
and by the way,
be happy with the numbers I've given you. Yes. Content with those ones.
Yeah, so now yellow maize, for example, yellow maize is a variety. It's a variety, a subspecies, a variety of maize. It's mostly called corn, and most of it is GM. Not all. We have corn in Kenya that is yellow maize, which is not GMO. It's just a variety of maize. It's not necessarily GMO. And I think it's aware of that we have yellow maize grown in Kenya. Not corn. Corn is a variety of maize, mostly GMO. But yellow maize itself is grown here, but it's ordinary maize. Now, we have a hybrid maize as well.
Yep.
That was developed to surmount certain challenges, especially rainfall and other challenges, and even productivity. Now, what happens is that over time, we bring new hybrids.
Yes.
Because the older ones succumb to those same problems. and that's what he was talking about earlier, that even for the stem borer, over time, we may have to bring new ones as the challenges emerge.
As they emerge.
Yes, so that's very true, that it's a continuous process. Even drugs, when you have drug resistance by the same microorganism that you're targeting or the same pathogen you're targeting, then you have to develop new drugs.
Yeah.
This is the way it will go. So we are not talking about a one-off solution.
It's a continuous process.
It's a continuous process. Okay. And one thing I would urge Kenyans is to trust our system. Because the truth is, this is not a technology that we are dreaming about from today. It has been tested, it has been used elsewhere.
It's already been developed.
It has already been developed, it has been tested, it has been consumed
elsewhere
for a long time, even in Kenya.
Has it been tested in Kenya?
Yes. Actually, this maize should have gone to the farm 2 years ago, had it not been for some other regulatory problems with NEMA and then court case. It has been tested across the country.
Okay.
And, we have two kind of tests in the farm. There is confined field trial, which we did in Makueni at Kiboko. It's confined, it's shielded out from the public.
Yeah.
And the product is banned after that. Because some things are going to be proven there, you can't use it. It's not because of safety, it's a regulatory requirement that the products of confined field trial is banned. And that's what happened.
So through
then,
okay, sorry, please go ahead.
Then you have the national performance trial. That happens once it's now approved. You test in different agroecological regions. Does it behave the same? But that product is consumed. Farmers have consumed it for 2 years.
I've stopped by Kiboko and I've bought maize. Mahindi ya kuchoma hapo kwa barabara.
Kuna kashamba pale kubwa sana ambayo
shamba ya Kalro hapo.
Yes.
Near Hunter's Lodge.
Yes.
And the guys were always selling.
They always
no
have
matter the
drought,
season.
rain.
Yes, and that maize is always green.
And very big.
Bas.
And the rest of the area around there is so dry, you'll be shocked.
Well, it's not necessarily GMO. They test so many other things there.
Okay.
Maybe but that one, if it is from a confined field trial, it was banned.
Yeah, okay.
You could not have bought it.
Okay.
But if it's a product from the national performance trial, then you bought it.
Then you're likely to have.
Yes.
The other concern that, in fact, even the Law Society of Kenya took to court in this particular case,
yes,
was the issue of indigenous crops. When you introduce now these genetically modified crops, do they phase out? What's the future of the indigenous crops or indigenous seeds?
Okay, thank you. Now, what happens with the hybrid seed? GMO is more like hybrid seed in the making.
Yeah.
Talking about in relation to what it does to the land races. Land races, the indigenous. Although maize is not indigenous to Kenya, but for the purpose of illustration.
Okay.
Now, what happens that if, for example, there's some crossbreeding or pollen flowing from a GM field, an intentional flow of pollen from a GM field into the land races or the indigenous crops, it will form a hybrid on that crop. Remember, maize is a non-overlapping generation kind of crop. You harvest everything and plant new one.
Yes.
So, if you replant your crop, there is something we call hybrid breakdown. My training is in genetics, so I'm safe home. Hybrid breakdown will ensure that that property of insect protection is halved in that generation.
Okay.
Then in the next one, it's not there anymore. And this brings one issue. You will have to go back to the agrovet if you need the insect protection.
So those two will so half of the genetics of the hybrid
of the insect protection. Yes.
Half of the hybrid and half of the indigenous will come together.
Yes.
By the time we're getting to that generation,
second generation is gone.
Both are gone.
Yes, and that's why even
the indigenous is gone, the hybrid is gone.
Even for the hybrid seed,
right?
If you replant your own crop, you'll get very low harvest, and you'll get albino maize. You've seen that the ones that are whitish at a very young age, they're whitish, and then they will dry off.
Yes,
because of hybrid breakdown. So this means there should be no fear of cross pollination. It will not affect the next crop.
That's That's a fear that the people have.
But they did not ask people who understand these things, and that's the problem. Because the Law Society of Kenya goes to court, we have appeared before them and given facts, but then when people are already made up their mind, they wouldn't listen to facts.
So are you saying essentially, bare facts on the table, that indigenous crops because this is what we're saying essentially, that you will then have a disappearance over time of indigenous crops. You're saying that if you plant in the next harvest anyway, you start to diminish your indigenous crops anyway.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is this. You have your indigenous crop in plot A.
Yes.
Then you have me planting GM maize in plot B.
Right.
Then pollen has flown, a few cases of pollen has flown from my crop to your crop.
To B to A, yes.
Now, what I'm saying that the specific tree of maize,
Yeah.
the particular plant of maize,
Yes.
which has received pollen from my farm,
Yes.
will be fine, because if you plant it in the next generation, it will become no more landrace maize.
Okay.
The gene that has flown from my side, the gene that is insect protecting it, will go.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
So you'll go back to your indigenous.
You'll go back
So
to
the
your
indigenous remains.
The
Indigenous remains.
What I'm saying is that the hybrid breakdown, the thing that makes it a hybrid is gone.
Okay.
So it's no more maize.
So it's for that crop,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
And once you harvest that crop, essentially what you're saying is that if you want to then go to hybrid, you need to reintroduce again.
Yes,
It's
you
not
need
going to
buy
continue.
certified seed again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now where would this information come from? Essentially that this you've created, and that's the thing. Information... because if we are left with a vacuum, we're going to fill it with our own information. Because we know when we eat GMO foods, we will grow a third nose on the back of your neck, kind of thing.
A third nose.
What do you mean? You'll grow.
Funny how many
Grow
do you have?
horns.
So by the time you've eaten the first one, you've already grown the second one. And then now it's the third
You'll
one.
grow hair on your forehead.
Or such things. People already have that naturally, but okay. The thing is that without the information is extremely important. So then where does this come from? Where the assumption is that, once you introduce this hybrid crop, that it is essentially going to become a master crop that then removes everything in its wake. But what you're saying now is that for that crop that you have introduced, it doesn't move to the next crop.
Yes.
Once you harvest, it's done. And if you want to have that again, this insect protected and etc.,
go to the
must
agrovet.
do it again.
You go to the agrovet.
You go to the agrovet.
To buy certified maize.
I get
now,
you.
the other thing is this, because I think this misconception is large.
It's very.
Yeah. What happens is this, because what people say is that our land races will be gone and all that.
Yes.
Remember, we are introducing this gene in a normal maize that has been planted by farmers. It's not a new maize. This maize is with the farmers.
Yes.
For example, drought tego. We are introducing this gene into that background of drought tego, which is maize already with the farmers.
Okay.
So it's an added property to that maize.
And something I've heard, and this is, I'm glad you're here because you can demystify this for me.
Yes.
One of the things that is said about GMO, and it is said in the context that what you call traditional seeds, that when you plant it for one season, you cannot keep the seed to be planted for the next. And they argue that with traditional seeds, all you need to do is just keep some seed aside for the next season and the next and the next and the next.
Yes, what happens is this. You're very right in some context. Because what happens with the hybrid seed, even the normal hybrid seed from Calro, if you replant it, your harvest will go down by 40%. Hybrid, if you plant hybrid seed from the agrovet, and then you harvest that and plant yours, the harvest will go down by more than 40%. Because there is hybrid breakdown. So you'll have to go back to the agrovet. You're aware of that, I hope?
No. Actually, I'm not. This is what's puzzling me. So, hybrid gives me high productivity.
Yes.
So, what do I do? Every time I want to plant, I've got to go back to the agrovet to get the same hybrid.
Sure.
But
If you want the same level of harvest.
all right, that one I've got now. What about the traditional one? Is it true then that I could actually replant that one?
The traditional,
Yes.
it's true that you can actually replant that one and continue getting the low harvest.
Oh,
So what do you want? High harvest, low harvest? So it's up to you.
This is not to say that the traditional ones are bad. The issue is this. The manner in which you harvest and store your seeds, the manner in which you protect your seeds, the manner in which you select for seed quality is the issue.
And that
Because
is-
you can actually hire, for example, Calro to do seed bulking for you from your own crop. Because the trick lies in how you harvest, how you store, how you prepare seeds. Seed quality.
So you're actually saying that this traditional seed can actually be enabled to produce higher yield?
Of course, people have hired scientists to do bulking for them from their own traditional seeds.
And it has worked?
It works, yes.
What's bulking?
Bulking means preparing seeds in a way that it retains the quality, so that there is higher germination, there is higher fecundity, and other things that come with seeds.
So if we can do this, then what do you need GMO for?
You need GMO because your normal seed will be affected by the stem borer, and you lose the crop.
Because this one is dealing with now those harmful sides of that.
Yeah.
The thing, though, about hybrid and GMO is you're making a farmer completely dependent on the seed company. How do you respond to that? Because it means every time you want to plant a new crop, you must go and buy new seed.
For GMO, and as a scientist, I don't lie, for GMO is true, you have to buy from the agrovet. Unless you want to replant it, and you'll get lower harvest, and you'll get lower insect protection, and in the third generation it's gone, it's no more seed now, that's okay. But if you want higher productivity and higher insect protection, then you have to go back to the agrovet.
Okay.
I don't know whether that is called a big dependent seed company, because even today as we talk, farmers are buying seeds from the seed companies without GMO. And as you remember, even the government tried to subsidize fertilizer. This is not about dependency. This is about jump-starting a system that has failed.
From a scientist's point of view, you're right. But from a business point of view, we see and read dependency. It's nothing else.
These people become dependent on this product, and they have no choice but to keep buying it.
So you cannot say you don't benefit from it, but you don't have much of a choice if that's what you want. And the question is, who doesn't want high yield?
That's the question. Who doesn't want a high yield?
Sure, but now
so those who want a high yield will come to the agrovet and buy.
Terry, the question here now, though, really is that which came first, though? Was there a need to commercialize something that would make people eternally dependent on this product, or was there a need to say, you know what we want to do is avoid crop failure, we want to avoid infestation of crop by pests and insects and things like that, and we want to guarantee that you have a high yield? Which came first? Because then, or was it a serendipity? There was a good mistake that was made when somebody said, if I take this and put it here, I can get a better crop. And then somebody said, wow, I can commercialize it. And the only way for you to guarantee this kind of crop is if you tinker with the makeup of this seed, because that's exactly what it is. And then you realize, oh, by golly, I can make money from this thing, and I can make these populations dependent on this seed. Without this seed like this, they will not get this high yield of crop.
They want to eat.
They must plant it.
And would you mind going about how did the issue of making hybrid seeds come in? Not GMO, normal hybrid seeds.
Same. It's
the same thing.
Same thinking.
And this is done by the government, Calvary's government. Because you have a problem you have to solve.
So this is my question.
Yes.
What was being solved? The pockets that needed to be filled? From a government point of view, creating food for a population that needed to eat. Looking at Cairo, for example, because we've been there, we've seen the kind of work that they do. Looking at Cairo sits and says, you know what? Our yields, can we think of something that's going to guarantee that from January to December, the people of Kenya have food? Or was it actually, you know what, let me make these people highly dependent on this thing so that they keep buying from government? And I would go with the former.
So,
I would go with the former for government.
What came first is that there was a problem. Remember, scientists don't work in vacuum. We are there to solve a problem already in society. And the problem was productivity, low productivity.
And the growing population.
This informed it. Of course, we cannot block somebody else who wants to
Fill their
tap
pockets
into the value chain. Because I've already made, for example, BT maize. BT maize is a bad example because it will be controlled in a different way. Let's say hybrid seed, for example. I've already made hybrid seed, and you are an agrovet, you want to tap into the value chain. We can't block you because you're a business person.
But Dr. Should we then not simplify it and ask, can we actually divorce what one may refer to as a common good from the pursuit of profit? Is it possible to...
Can that be controlled?
Yes. Now, for the purpose of BT maize in Kenya, it will be sold through the same government system, Kenya Seed. It's not open to what you are fearing and calling multinational.
Okay.
Multinationals also have their own GMO.
So multinationals will sell to Kenya Seed.
They have their own GMO. But we are talking about the one that has been made here. And for your information, which is important, it has been made through public-private partnership, PPP.
So Kenyan developed BT maize is the only one that will be allowed to be sold in Kenya.
I wouldn't talk for the government and say the only one to be allowed. What I'm saying is that purposefully, this one has been developed through a public-private partnership for the use in Kenya.
Okay.
Whether the government can allow another, I wouldn't really comment.
What does the regulation say?
Because I wouldn't stop the regulator from doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking, what are the side effects of GMO? What are the downsides? Because you've talked about the positives. What are the negatives of GMO to human health, to the agriculture system, to the value chain, and even to the industry?
Okay. Now, let me talk about the BT maize. It's safe to talk about something you've been involved in from beginning to end.
Okay.
The only thing I can talk about in terms of BT maize side effect or value chain effect is that to get productivity, you'll have to go back to the agrovet.
Okay.
If you replant yours, that gene decays and you end up with a normal maize,
which will be prone to the borer.
Will still be prone to the borer.
Okay.
So you'll have to go back to the agrovet. In terms of safety, there is nowhere on earth that anybody has questioned the safety of BT maize. The only one that has been discussed extensively is on Roundup tolerant maize. The one that is Roundup tolerant, which is not in Kenya. It's mainly in the US and other areas where people plant in hectares, thousands of hectares. For BT maize, there is no single person anywhere on earth who has questioned the safety.
The environment?
Safety to the environment or the person, or livestock, humans, and the environment. There's none. Because BT is in the environment already.
Okay.
Not the virus, but the bacterium, Bacillus thuringiensis, is already in the environment. That's where you got it from.
Okay.
Yes.
So with this decision of the court yesterday, what does it mean?
It now means, but of course, legally we have to interpret it. It means we are given okay, but there's another case.
To do what?
But there's another case in court.
But currently, as it stands, if there was, barring any other case,
for this particular case,
it means that we can now,
the court is saying go ahead,
grow BT maize commercially in Kenya.
Yes. But as you know very well, if a case is ruled in one court and there's a similar case in another court, you have to wait for that one. It just means that this one is now done, unless the two are consolidated. Okay. So as it stands, as we talked to this morning, we are waiting for the outcome of the other one. That's what it would mean.
This particular one deals with the borer. Is there research going on to deal with other things?
Yeah, of course we have. Yes. We have so many other products in the pipeline. There's even one that is already at national performance trial. That is cassava. It deals with the cassava mosaic virus and cyanide. The level of cyanide.
Yeah.
That reduces the poison in cassava. So there are many other products that are in the pipeline. We have peanut. We have knocked down the 3 proteins that cause allergy in peanut. That is within the seed storage proteins that are causing allergy to people who take peanut. We have knocked out that.
So we'll have some GMO peanuts that you don't have to ask people, are you allergic?
Very soon. And then we have sweet potato. They suffer from several fungal and viral infections. So there are many other things in the pipeline coming up.
No, interesting discussion when it's coming to an end.
Bueno,
First of all, this one of peanuts.
Yes. Dr. Joel Ochieng is the program leader at the Agricultural Biotechnologies at the University of Nairobi and the Secretary General of the Kenya University's Biotechnology Consortium. He's been our guest this morning. Thank you very much for educating us.
Thank you.
Keep it here for more. 9 a.m.